In 2014, the Japanese government ruled that a death from 4 years prior of an A1 Pictures animator was caused by poor working conditions, generally linked to things like overwork. The 28-year-old man was said to be working 600 hours a month at the time of his passing. Anime director Daiki Nishimura said that A1 Pictures should not be held accountable because this is, quote, an industry standard. 2014 was nearly a decade ago, however. Has the anime industry improved at all, or has it gotten worse? First of all, we have to determine what needs improving. What are we defining as working conditions? Let's dive into all this and more. Now, first things first, how is the industry itself doing? Well, according to Business Wire, the global anime market size is expected to reach a whopping 56 billion USD by 2030. Not only is anime more popular than ever, but access to it is ever increasing. Whether it be anime going directly to streaming or rollouts of high-speed networks all around the world, more and more people have access to anime. This is where we define our first section of working conditions. How much do the people who make this highly in-demand content actually make? In 2019, an animator shared their earnings for their first year in the industry, and they made $6,000 in the entirety of 2019. Oftentimes their pay would be inconsistent, never really getting above a few $100s a month. And they even specified that their pay is likely on the higher end of first-year animators, with some newer ones making as low as $270 per month. Even though the anime industry is making more and more every year, the people who produce that anime are getting paid so little, not even meeting basic survival needs. This is especially rough when a lot of these studios are situated in Tokyo, one of the most expensive cities in the world, with some sites putting the cost of living per month minus rent at around $1,000 USD. Despite the intense labor, the amount of overtime and long working hours, you aren't even making close to enough to survive. For a typical TV anime in 2020, an animator makes less than $2 per one frame. That is right, you do all of that work on a frame for $2. You try to do hundreds to make any decent amount of money, and you are essentially sacrificing the rest of your life. And even with this little pay, some studios are still trying to rob you more than they already are. In June 2020, it was reported that Studio 4C was taken to court over millions of yen not paid to its employees. The employees stated that they had worked over 100 hours of overtime and were not at all compensated for their work, and also alleged that other employees had worked over 200 hours while still not getting paid. The studio eventually caved, paying out any outstanding wages, much to the dismay of the employee, who wanted a verdict in court about this type of behavior. And then a month later, the same exact thing happened with Studio Trigger, who also eventually settled out of court with the employees. Trigger is a fan-favorite studio, producing a lot of wildly popular series, and it's an important reminder that this can happen to your favorite studio. This type of abuse is inherent to not just the anime industry, but multiple entertainment industries across the board, if not industry in general. I talk about this briefly in another video where I delve into mangaka authors' work schedules, and discuss how employers will take advantage of your passion. They will take advantage of your creativity, your love for the arts, and your dreams to make even a dime off of it while you slave away for little pay. Let's take, for example, fan-favorite studio MAPPA is often a target of these criticisms because a lot of their abuse and tackling of immense workloads is publicized. A former MAPPA animator would go on to describe his experiences at the studio as factory-like, and stated they would have to continually correct drawings over and over until the sun rose. They would also go on to criticize MAPPA's insane catalog, working on 4 shows at a time and not giving time for new animators to be trained to avoid that many corrections. As recently as April of this year, it was reported that the industry is experiencing high turnover rates due to low wages, leading to a mass exodus of the anime industry, and as a result, art quality degradations and show cancellations are becoming increasingly more common. A massive amount of animators leave the industry within a few years, and since so many people quit for new industries, there is a consistent shortage of key and in-between animators. Due to that shortage, hobbyists on Twitter are being made to take up the work. I remember there being a period of time where I would hear about how if you had animator in your Twitter bio, there was a non-zero chance you would get DMs from people looking to hire you. MAPPA's approach to this is, unique, to say the least. Quote, I have heard some people from the anime industry say that we should just reduce the number of what we produce, but to me that is the same as avoiding a challenge. If there are plenty of anime being produced around the time, then that must mean that the demand for it is high. It is important to respond to these demands by supplying it with high-quality anime. Therefore, at MAPPA, we believe we can face all the current issues in the anime industry by increasing our productivity. Well, this has been a lot of discussion about how bad the industry is, and not really talking about the title of this video. Is the anime industry getting worse? Well, of course, it's hard to say. Looking at the data through 2005 to 2019, keeping in mind this isn't only strictly for freelancers, in-betweeners, or key animators, but multiple different positions in the anime industry, it seems working hours have gone down a slight amount, from 10.2 per day to 9.66 per day, and days off went up from 3.7 to 5.4 on average in January. Annual income has also increased from around $18,000 to $27,000 over the course of a decade and a half. Taking into account that this study references multiple different positions in anime, it's hard to say if this is representative of the industry as a whole getting better or worse. But what we can reference is that the mean wage in Tokyo in 2019 was 46,000 USD, a far cry from that 27,000 USD figure. We're in this weird territory where the data doesn't really change that much over a decade and a half, and the data not being super reliable within this context, so what we're left to look at is reports of how things are going. The Association of Japanese Animation report for 2022 found that production costs have continued to balloon over the years. Quote, because of soaring labor costs due to work style reforms, there has been a sharp rise in unit costs when hiring contractors, so anime production costs are rising at a faster speed than the cost for orders. Additionally, since there is a shortage in production and creation staff, it is very difficult to create an anime production system. The standards required for anime production are steadily growing, which is a primary factor in the increase in cost. In 2023 alone, we have already seen repeated anime delays, generally from the production company known as Aniplex, which they attribute to COVID-19, a virus that definitely still does damage, but animation studios and production companies have spent the past 3 years adapting to. What Aniplex instead has a history of is trying to push out anime as soon as possible, generally leading to delays or production meltdowns. So, pay is still low, hours and workload are still intense, the exodus of skilled animators only continues to grow, leading to more work being piled up on underpaid employees as production costs continue to grow and grow, all the while the anime industry is the most profitable it has ever been. So if you look at this through the lens of, is the anime industry improving by making more money, then sure. If you're looking at it through the lens of, is the anime industry improving by treating the workers as human, then not really, maybe marginally. Mappa opened up a new studio, that's exciting I guess. Before I get comments saying it like I did on the Crunchyroll video, if you're here to say, why don't they just get another job? If you want them to stop having passion and for your favorite cartoons to stop being produced, then by all means continue, but it is the equivalent of making fun of fast food workers for asking for higher pay, and then being upset when your Big Mac isn't made fast enough for you. The truth about anime is that no singular studio is guilty. Of course, you could argue a studio is more guilty than another, but that conversation sometimes feels pointless. Anime staff in general are suffering to produce the work you love, and there unfortunately isn't much we can do to support them from here besides speaking up about it and denouncing the intense workload, hours, and subpar pay. One day, the anime industry will crash. It will get too big for its own britches and suffer the consequences of screwing over entire generations of the workforce. A good way to help that I've seen, and I would stress that you do your own research about them before coming to any conclusions, is the Animator Dormitory Project. They crowdfund to provide art workshops, creating jobs by producing in-house music videos, and attempting to provide housing for people who can barely scrape by in the industry. If you want to hear more about the low pay and unfortunate injustices done against people who make stuff you love, you should check out my video on mangaka schedules as well as my video on dub voice actors and their struggles for equal pay. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the funny YouTube algorithm. You can check the description down below to follow me on Twitter where I'm objectively correct all the time. You can also join my Discord where we talk about My Hero Academia, ReZero, Jujutsu Kaisen, and stuff like that. And you can also now become a YouTube member, which basically just gives you access to behind-the-scenes content, a little badge on comments, and live stream chats, and access to some emotes. Only do so if you want to support the channel, though. But that's about it, though. Thank you for watching. See ya.